In this lesson, we are finding the distance and midpoint of 2 points. Just as a reminder, to find the distance between 2 points, we are going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So this green line would be the hypotenuse of the right triangle. And we're going to call that C. Now we can approximate that, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth by finding the square root of 45, which is about 6.7. All right, let's do a couple more examples. Find the distance between the points 4, 3 and -2, -2. So first let's go to 4, 3. And then -2, -2. So we want to know what is this distance between these 2 points. And if we're going to round to the nearest tenth, that's about 7.8. Now, just a way to kind of double check yourself, remember that the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So I have 5, 6, and then 7.8, and 7.8 is the longest side. Example 2, find the distance between the 2 points. So -6, 4, and 3, -5. Okay, that's where our right angle is formed. So the hypotenuse, or the green side, is our C that we don't know. We're trying to find that length. So we'll take 9 squared plus 9 squared equals C squared. So that's 81 plus 81 equals C squared. 81 plus 81 is 162. Then take the square root on both sides. So the square root of 162 is C. So over in Desmos, we can approximate the square root of 162. That's about 12.7. And again, you can double check to see that that is indeed the longest side. We had 2 legs that were 9, and 12.7 was the length of the hypotenuse. Up next, we're going to talk about finding the midpoint between 2 points. So to find the midpoint, you're finding the middle point between the two of them, or the halfway mark. And we're just going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2 for the sake of keeping things organized. All right, so first we're going to find the average of the x's. And to find the average of something, you add them together and divide by however many you added. So we have 2 points, so we're going to add the 2 x's and divide by 2. So I have my x1 and my x2. We're going to add them together. So -3 plus 3 and divide it by 2. And then for the y values, we have +5 and then plus -1, so just -1, and divide that by 2. And this gives us our xy midpoint. All right, so if we simplify this, -3 plus 3 is 0, divided by 2, and then 5 minus 1 is 4, divided by 2. Continue to simplify. 0 divided by anything. You can have a 0 in the numerator, that's okay. It's just equal to 0. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So our midpoint is 0, 2. So I'll go 0 on the x-axis and up 2. So what we can do is let's check this. If I were to draw that horizontal distance, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units long. So the halfway point is right here. And then if I were to draw the vertical distance, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units long also, so the halfway is right here. And that falls right exactly where the midpoint is. In example 3, we are going to check this in Desmos, or check it on the graph, just to make sure that when you get your final point that it does fall exactly between the halfway point of the line segment. So -4, 7, and 8, 3. First, let's label these x1, y1, and x2, y2, just so that when we are putting them in the formula, we are making sure that that's correct. So to find the midpoint, add the x's together. So -4 plus 8, and then divide that by 2. And then separately add the y's together. So 7 plus 3, and divide that by 2 as well. And simplify. So that's -4 plus 8 is 4, divided by 2. 7 plus 3 is 10, divided by 2. And that final answer is going to be 2, 5. So let's plot these points and make sure that that does look like it falls exactly halfway between the 2 points. So -4, 7. And 8, 3. Then let's graph our midpoint of 2, 5. And that does look like it falls exactly between those two. All right, in example 4, this time we aren't given the 2 endpoints. We have to find them based on the line segment on the coordinate plane. So the point on the left is at -3, 2. Point on the right is at 8, 5. All right, so using the midpoint formula, we're going to add the x's together. It doesn't matter which one is x1, y1. Just start with one of them. So we'll say x1, y1, x2, y2. So add your x's together. -3 plus 8, divide that by 2, and then add the y's together. 2 plus 5, and then divide that by 2. Now always make sure that you simplify the top completely. Just because you see a 2 over 2 here, you can't cross those out. You have to do that addition in the top. Right, so negative 3 plus 8 is 5 over 2. And then 2 plus 5 is 7 over 2. So these aren't whole numbers, and that's okay. You can change them to mixed numbers so that you can actually count on the grid to plot your point. So 2 goes into 5 twice with 1 left over. So 2.5. And then 2 goes into 7 3 times with 1 left over. So 3.5. All right, so let's count. Right 2.5, up 3.5. So 1, 2.5, and then up 1, 2, 3.5. So that's right here. And that does fall exactly halfway between the two end points. In example 5, this one's a little different. It tells you that the line has an end point at 2, negative 3, and the midpoint at 4, 2. Find the other end point. So if the midpoint is equal to okay, well, we know that our midpoint is 4, 2. So 4, 2 is but we don't know x2. All right, so really what this tells us is that we can create two smaller equations using the x values only. So 4 is equal to 2 plus what x value divided by 2. All right, so what we can do is solve for x2. So multiply by 2 on both sides to get rid of that division in the bottom. So we have 8 equals 2 plus the x2 value that we're looking for. So then subtract 2 on both sides. So 8 minus 2 is 6, is x2. So x2 is 6. So the other endpoint is 6 something. So now we've got to find the y. All right, so let's look at 2 is equal to negative 3 plus the second y value that we're looking for divided by 2. So again, get rid of that denominator. So 4 equals negative 3 plus our second y value. To get rid of the negative 3, add 3 on both sides. So 7 is our y2. Now what we can do here is double check that in Desmos. So let's graph using parentheses 2, negative 3. So that's 1 point. The midpoint was 4, 2. And the other endpoint is 6, 7, or that's what we're checking. Okay, so if I look at these 3 points, I can see that that midpoint does fall exactly halfway between the green point and the black point, so that black point, 6, 7, is the other endpoint that we were looking for.